Hi, this is Strado, and welcome to my Stix Mythic Shadow Guide commentary kill video thingy, where I'll be going through how I played it, why I played it that way, and some mistakes I made, and so on. And as usual, I'll start out with the talents. On the class side, absolutely nothing interesting. You play the defensive stuff because you might as well. On the DPS side, you're going to be playing Archon. This is the second of the 3 Archon fights. And you're going to be playing the Shadow Crash variant, and similar to Rick, at the time I played this, nowadays you would most likely be playing the Death Speaker Screams Mastermind stuff instead of basically this branch. But at the time, this was what we thought was best, except some people played Screams instead of Mind Devourer. Not really a big difference either way. And then the big thing is you play Silence to kick the Scrapmasters. And to get that, you can either drop Mastermind or Pathogen or like less than 1 DPS, 1% DPS, or you can drop Mental Fortitude, which is what most people ended up doing because healers heal and you should be okay on this boss. On the gear side, nothing crazy. 1 minute CD on use trinkets are slightly wasteful, but most people won't be playing those anyway because it's basically just the PvP badge, which I luckily replaced. So yeah, that's the only thing to really consider. Play your good trinkets. You're probably going to get okay value out of your IF Kazan as well if you have that, because the fight is not super long, but decently long, like 6.5 minutes. So yeah, let's look at some cooldowns, where really there's not much to say. You press your cooldowns when they're ready, and then that's kind of it. They naturally line up with ad sets for the most part. The one thing that some people do is that they hold this second halo, because what happens is, right, you press the halo, the boss flies away, and it doesn't do any damage, but you still get your Mind Flay stacks, which you can then use afterwards for the ad set or whatever you want. What some people do, and especially on early kills needed to do, is hold this halo for the ad set itself, because at the time, breaking out those ads was more of an issue. And this is also where we come into, I guess, Shadow's role on this fight. Because on early, like, Race to World First, top 10, whatever progress, Shadow was pretty good at breaking out the bombshell crab guys. But at this point, they have so little health and the threshold is so high that they kind of just pop out before you even start doing anything. Which is another reason why I don't think holding this halo for the ads is worth it. Instead, just send it on CD and continue using it on CD. And some of them will naturally line up and some won't. So what you end up doing on this fight isn't really breaking the bombshells. You just do a lot of very efficient AoE damage to everything except the hyenas, basically. If Scrapmasters hang out in Narnia somewhere, you do pretty good damage to them just basically for free. You do a lot of damage to the bombshells, just not above 80% really, because they need to be dotted up first, and by the time you cast Vampiric Touch on like 4 or 5 bombshells, they should basically have dismounted already. So yeah, your job, hit the boss, and then help doing overall damage for the most part. And you can help swap off to the bombshells a bit, but you won't do that much damage that actually helps to break them out. Okay, and then let's get into the video, which has to be my Twitch VOD because I lost the local recording. On pull, you just press everything. In theory, it's better to crash rather than Vampiric Touch because it does damage, while the Vampiric Touch doesn't. And immediately after your torrent, basically, he does the fire where you need to spread out a bit and not burn the trash piles, which there aren't any of on pull, but in theory, if there were any, don't stand next to them. And then you get the sorting. So one thing with the cooldowns is there are some sortings where you are just kind of sad if you get sorted because you just pressed your CDs. But that's just how it is. I don't think it's worth holding CDs to see if you get sorted or not, because you end up holding for so long. And here you can see on the first set, there's only 3 bombshells. They spawned like around the boss. I dotted them and just kept hitting the boss basically. And then the Scrapmasters come out of the balls. I Shadow Crash again, and then hopefully that hits all the people that I want to hit. And then we have the fire coming up again soon. Don't stand next to the trash piles because burning them is very bad. And here comes the halo, which is basically wasted. And then because I'm Void Elf, I got used to just slamming my Void Elf racial over towards the gate, and then just dispersion, sit in it until after the boss lands, and then drop out of it. And then you can see I have 4 Mind Flayer stacks, I have Torrent ready, coming out of the air phase. And then we have the next fire coming up. Don't stand on the piles. Some of them burn because of the tank mechanic, so that's fine. Just don't stand in that fire either. And now comes the sorting, where I've been assigned orange, which is here behind us. So I guess what you do with the sorting is you go to your quadrant and you try to find a path before you even get balled, to see where you can go get your stacks and then pick up the Scrapmaster. So you can see there's 2 small ones here, 2 more here, and that gets me enough size to pick up my Scrapmaster. Then I just pick up random stuff, and in this case, I have not been told to take the bomb because somebody else is taking this one, so I just roll into the boss and continue on with my life. And then in this case, I got pretty lucky with my sorting. It was just before cooldowns came off cooldown anyway, so I didn't waste any time. And then with the silence, you saw that once I dismounted, I just kicked Scrapmaster, so it would start jumping in, which is the main thing that the silence is for, is just getting the Scrapmasters to stack on the boss, so they can get blended down. And one thing I do wrong here is, for the sorting, you want to be a lot closer to the boss than I was, because the crabs spawn around the boss. So if you're close to the boss, then you can actually reach them. I couldn't reach the 2 all the way in the back, so I had to walk closer. And then you can see here, there's a Scrapmaster out here on the side, which I didn't do anything to, because I didn't notice. And then there's another one over here. Yeah, and you can see I've dotted the Scrapmasters, and then just keep hitting the boss. And now again, we are moving the boss over to the next quadrant, and I should be following more closely, so I'm in range to actually hit the things. Because again, you can see the 2 crabs all the way in the back I could not reach. Sometimes you're lucky, like with these 2, that you can drop a Shadow Crash between them and get both of them, but that just depends where they spawn. And they always spawn on the medium trash piles. That's how you can tell. So when the blue circles come out, there's going to be small blue circles for the small trash piles, medium for the medium trash piles, and then the big ones are the 2 bombs, which should either you look for them yourself or somebody calls out where they are and then you coordinate who takes them. And then similarly also with the Scrapmasters, you want to make sure they get kicked in. So if you see one that's out in Narnia somewhere that hasn't been kicked, call it out, ask for a kick, or use your own if it's ready, but it has like a 10-hour cooldown, so you won't be that useful with it. And you can see there's 1 shell here and 1 on the back that didn't get broken out by the time I could start helping to hit them, but yeah. Then there's one thing you may have noticed here with the Scrapmaster. It got its cast off because whoever was balling over here messed up, but it was targeting our DH who nether walked. You can actually also live that. If you notice that your recycle beam is going through somehow, even though it has a 14-second cast time, you can disperse and you will live. Like that's pretty comfortably enough damage reduction to not die to the recycle. And then for the balling, one thing I guess to keep in mind is that you can get 1 of the first, I think it's 6 rounds of sorting, but you can't get 2 in those. But then for the last set of sorting, you are a valid target again, because everybody has balled at that point, so the boss has to just pick someone who already did it. And you can see somebody roll into a bombshell, but you can live it. Healers just need to heal. And then you have reses and anks and stuff to fix the few deaths that end up happening. And then here you can see the boss is at 8%. The balls do 2%, I think it is, of the boss's health each. Roughly 2% of the boss's health if they are at maximum size. Significantly less if they're smaller. So at this point, the correct call is just make the balls big and hit the boss. But you can see people are still, for some reason, trying to play mechanics instead of doing what was actually called, which is hitting the boss. Including the raid leader here, who's just like balling around picking up trash for no reason and not hitting the boss. But yeah, that's basically the boss. If you need to soak a bomb with a ball, do it. Otherwise, hit the boss once you are big. And cast your dots and hit the things and don't die. If you get targeted by the recycle and it goes through, press dispersion. If you get targeted by the lightning pylon thing, just press every defensive except dispersion and press health pot maybe and stuff, because the last few ticks of that are going to hurt quite a lot. And I think that basically covers Stix. So yeah, good luck.